If you're turning the ball over a ton, you're not shooting it well from three, and you're not forcing turnovers and scoring off of those turnovers, the Thunder are going to lose. Going into this series, everyone thought that this was going to be a cakewalk for the Thunder, that the Pacers were not going to compete. This is a free championship for Shea. Boring finals. Look at the ratings, blah, blah, blah. And I just realized I had my AirPod in. And as we're 1 day away from the last game of this series, a total of 7 points separates both of these teams. And it's 1 game left for all the marbles. Game 7. You couldn't ask for a better ending to this NBA season, especially because of all the annoying takes and how boring this finals was going to be, according to a bunch of other people that were completely wrong. So 4 teams have won a Game 7 on the road. You guys know that already, probably. You've heard it all over the place. So let me just go through it quickly. The 16 Cavs, the 78 Washington Bullets, the 74 Celtics, the 69 Celtics, and you basically get the point. Pacers have just a chance to make history from that perspective, being the 5th team in the long history of this league to win a Game 7 on the road and do it against all the odds. I mean, the Thunder have been the favorite every single night. They were the favorite before the series started, and that's not changing here. And this isn't your average Game 7, right? Like, neither team has won a championship in the history of their franchise. So the circumstances are so unique. There's a player perspective part of it, which is obviously the case for every storyline if you want to build it. Siakam winning 2 championships. If he gets this second title, where does this elevate him? Like, how far does he move up on the overall championship player pyramid and just player pyramid in general, right? Like, where would you rank Siakam after being able to be one of the biggest pieces on a championship team? I mean, you're arguably the best player on the championship team, right? I mean, you know, individually speaking, right? Like, obviously, we know what Haliburton contributes to this team. He is the engine of this team, but, you know, when you're talking about importance of a player in a championship run, look no further than Pascal Siakam as the second guy on this lineup. You're looking at the Haliburton thing, right? The history of the Indiana Pacers is, you know, the gold standard. Like, the name that everyone thinks of is Reggie Miller. And obviously he never was able to get it done. Came really close, I guess you could say, but he was never going to beat those Lakers, right? So, like, that was, you know, he's running into the Bulls, he's running into the Knicks, and we know the whole story with Reggie Miller. Haliburton has a chance to arguably be the greatest Pacer of all time, right? Like, I don't know how you Pacers fans would rank Haliburton after a run like this, even though you could, you know, look at the 14 points a game in the finals or whatever the numbers are, and, you know, him kind of crashing down as we get to the end because of the injury stuff, but he still has played pretty damn well. So, you know, I don't know where this would put him on the overall Indiana Pacers pyramid. But I feel like you could make the argument and say he would be the greatest Pacer ever. Carlisle, that's another part of this. Like, he is about to enter, if they win the championship, he is going to enter some serious conversations amongst the all-time great coaches when it comes to championship coaches, because he is an all-time coach. There's no doubt about it. He's got the wins to be in the conversation amongst those all-time greats. But when you start to split hairs, right, and you start to kind of pull the accolades and, you know, you start to dig deeper and see what a coach did over the course of his career. Who did he win with? Was he carried by his players? How did he adjust over the course of his coaching career? And that's how you start splitting those hairs. And Rick Carlisle, if he manages to get a championship out of this team in the most unlikely way, nobody had the Pacers making the finals this season. No, I don't think anyone even had the Pacers making the conference finals. So what this would do for Carlisle's career is just, I mean, he's already cemented as a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, that's pretty easy to say, but this puts him up in a higher tier, right? And I think that that's something that's definitely weighing on him as well. From that Celtics-Pacers trade, Aaron Nesmith was kind of like just a throw-in, and here he is, being one of the biggest X factors on a championship team. This guy has been just a massive help to this team. This dude hits big three after big three. We know what he does on the defensive end. He is tough as nails, and he looks like he's been in the league for a decade. Nembhard as well, like just another guy that had a really good college career, good high school career, and here he is in the NBA Finals being one of the go-to ball handlers and decision makers and big-time shot hitters for the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, you know, you can go down the list. Obi Toppin, right? Sticking it to the Knicks, right? Being a big impact on a championship team, showing that he definitely is a guy that should have been playing more, and he is an excellent fit on the Pacers. You can talk about Miles Turner being this guy that, you know, some people were skeptical. Can you win with him at the 5? And surely enough, he hasn't had a great series offensively speaking. We'll get to those numbers in a little bit, but he has obviously helped this team a ton on both ends, even if he struggled offensively in this final series. Now, for OKC, right, here's the storylines for the OKC side of it. Sam Presti has waited for such a long time since that last finals with KD and Russ and Harden, and he makes this trade for SGA, and it's a complete rebuild, makes the right draft picks, signs guys to deals that some people were like, what are you doing paying Dort this much amount of money, signs Hartenstein in the offseason because they need that big man depth, right? They need help in that front line. They trade Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso, which was a big offseason trade, and all of a sudden, it looks like all the right moves were made. All the right buttons were pressed, all the right decisions in the draft, and it all comes down to this one game. And I know that Sam Presti has not slept in between these games, just knowing that the chip is right there for the taking, and just feeling like you get that sigh of relief that you finally got the job done. You finally got over the hump. And, you know, we're looking at Mark Daigneault, right? A guy that he comes all the way from the G League. And here he is one game away from the finals, coaching one of the best defensive teams of all time, and also coaching one of the greatest guard scorers ever right now. And as far as what he's done in these last few seasons in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And speaking of Shai, you know, if he wins this finals MVP, he enters this rare conversation of, I'm a finals MVP and a regular season MVP in the same season, and I'm averaging 30 in the finals. Where you're going to rank Shai after if he is able to achieve that, I have no idea. But he is going to enter some very serious conversations. You know, we look at Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, two guys that are obviously still young like everyone else on this team, including Shai, right? And these two guys, confidence-wise, if they're able to win a chip this early in their career, their trajectory is just going to go through the roof. From a mental standpoint, from an experience standpoint, just you get a lot from winning a chip. You get a lot from having a deep run in the playoffs, period. Even if you don't get the job done, right? It's a great experience for players. And if you're able to win a championship, it just puts you in this comfort zone with your ability, right? Because now you know, hey, I got the job done. I know I'm capable now. Let's go and win another one, right? So that's going to be something that sticks with every player that's ever won a championship. And what this does for all players in their careers, they will forever be remembered as contributors to a championship team. The role guys, the guys that barely played minutes, these are guys that other teams can convince themselves when they become free agents or when they're restricted free agents. Other teams can convince themselves of, hey man, look, he could have helped a lot more on that championship team. We like those 5 to 6 minutes that he played. He looked locked in, right? And we could definitely use that. Let's see what he's about, right? He definitely contributed to this team. So, you know, he's been all the way to the finals. He's won a championship. He's been part of a great group of good defense, good offense, and just great coaching and development. So I think that part of it is a little bit slept on as well, in terms of like how the fans perceive an entire team winning it, like when a team wins a championship, right? Like that stuff has ripple effects for every single player down that roster. You know, Caruso winning his second championship. I mean, we already view this guy as a championship role guy, right? Someone that makes impact play after impact play. and just a winning player. He helped a ton in Chicago, a team that was in an unwinnable situation, and he's helping them win games. He obviously wins a championship with the Lakers. They make a massive mistake, and Caruso is obviously gone. Here's Caruso again, getting one more chance on a championship contender. And what do? The first year he gets traded there, they get to the finals, and they're a game away from doing it all. So, shout out to Caruso for that. I want to get into some final stats going into Game 7, because I was looking at these points scored, and it's alarming if you're looking at it from the OKC side of things. At the very top, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the finals in 30.5 points, right? You got Jalen Williams right behind him, 24.2. But then, as you go down the line, it's Pascal, it's Hallie, it's Obi. Then you see Chet, but it's Miles Turner, it's TJ McConnell, it's Andrew Nembhard, it's Ben Mathurin, it's Aaron Nesmith. It's 3 out of those 11 names are Oklahoma City players in scoring, right? In points per game. And that is basically all you have to know about how this Indiana team has sustained this long run to the championship. And looking at the Thunder, and they approached Game 6. I mean, I never like picking teams that are having to close on the road, knowing that there's an extra game in the back pocket. Like, when you have that room for error, it opens the window, mentally speaking, for like, okay, we're good if we lose this game. We got one more, and it's at home. And obviously the chip is right there. You see the trophy, you see the tape around the court. You can't help but taste the champagne and feel the trophy in your hands, right? And for such a young team, I mean, I can't imagine how much more that feeling is for a young team like the Thunder and the Pacers. So, that alone should have had me pick the Pacers to win Game 6. But I was just confident in the Thunder's ability to get the job done on the road. Obviously, I was completely wrong. They just flat out threw this game away. And shout out to the Pacers, because you could just say the Thunder didn't show up, and they did not show up. I mean, those turnovers were horrific, but the Pacers showed up. They said, we're not giving up. We're going to push this to 7, and we're going to try to win on the road. Look, Halliburton, he's playing through this injury, and he looks great anyways, right? You can tell he's hobbling a little bit, like he's jumping a lot off the ball and kind of like relieving pressure from that leg. But I feel like the Thunder, they can't go into these games feeling like, okay, we have the advantage because Halliburton's hurt. Of all the stars in the NBA, of all the players in the league, of all the better players or the best players on their teams, Halliburton being slightly injured is probably not as big of a deal as you would think, because of the way that he plays the game. He is a distributor first, scorer second, right? So this is a guy that he likes to get his team involved. And if you're not able to put the ball down, get to the rim, and your job is going to turn into, let me find some passing windows and knock down shots when I can, Halliburton can do that because of his already unselfish style of play and ability to make shots, right? So of all the players you can think of who this injury would hurt, I don't think it would hurt Halliburton as much as it would hurt other players that rely on scoring more than anything else. I don't want to get into that too long. So, just looking at those points per game leaders in this finals, and, that was an interesting stat for me. But, I'm going side by side now, right? I'm showing the side by side on these two teams, and you can see the traditional stat comparison. I mean, everyone thought that this was going to be a cakewalk, and you're looking at how close this really is from the traditional stat standpoint, like field goal percentage, rebounds, steals, turnovers. I mean, these two teams, points, these two teams are neck and neck, and it's no surprise at this point how this got to a Game 7. And I want to get to one of the final portions of this pod, which are the concerns, okay? The concerns for OKC. Chet Holmgren, man. In the last 2 games, 6 of 24 from the field, 25% there. Now, overall in the finals, he's made 2 threes. in the entire series. He is 2 for 17 at the three-point line, 11.8%. That is mind-boggling. Finals field goals, right? He's 24 of 68, 35.3% from the field. What offensive version of Chet Holmgren are the Thunder going to get in this home game? And you could make a safe bet and say, hey, man, he's had 2 bad games. He's going to be back at home now for all the marbles. You know, maybe he's got the bad shots out of the way and this is going to be the good game. I'm hoping for that. Another thing that obviously has haunted this team, can you take care of the ball, right? What is going on with the turnover problem? Can you guys not throw the ball away and shoot yourselves in the foot? Because it's not even, I mean, the defensive pressure from the Pacers, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but a lot of that is definitely the reason for the Thunder throwing the ball away a ton. But there's a lot of turnovers, and I've gone through all of them. There are so many turnovers that are just unnecessary, and it's the Thunder shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again. And the other one regarding the turnovers, can you capitalize on Pacers turnovers? Because there have been some games in this series where the Pacers turn it over a ton and the Thunder aren't capitalizing as often as they have all year long off of a team's turnovers. Another concern that I'm very worried about, even though at home you can hope that they would be better in this regard, 3-point shooting, man. They're 36.1%. They have not shot the ball well in this series, specifically throughout the playoffs, and that makes it incredibly easy to guard Shai. And I'm not going to say that he's still an easy cover when the Thunder aren't shooting well, because Shai could very well just, you know, play through the mud and get his offense. But it becomes much easier to defend Shai when guys aren't shooting well. When the Pacers defenders can basically turn their backs on the Thunder because they're not cutting off the ball in a lot of these scenarios where Shai's isolating and posting up. McConnell shows up and help. Siakam shows up and help. Miles Turner shows up and help, and no one's cutting. Shai is trying to isolate, turn his back to the defense, and all of a sudden it's another steal. It's another turnover. It's another little deflection on a bad pass. When the Pacers don't feel the pressure of the three-point shot making because it hasn't been there from the Thunder, they can cheat away harder and play the late contest game, right? Like, we're going to show on Shai, we're going to completely overload, we're going to turn our backs to these guys, and if Shai gets a pass off, we're going to do our best to get out and contest because these guys have not shown us that they can make shots consistently. And that it could be the downfall of this Thunder team if they're not going to be playing like that high level points off of turnovers formula that they've had all year. Because the Thunder, the way they've sustained bad shooting nights is via defense and also taking care of the ball on offense. So, like, if you're turning the ball over a ton, you're not shooting it well from 3, and you're not forcing turnovers and scoring off of those turnovers, the Thunder are going to lose. It's really that simple. I mean, I could cut the pod right now after that statement, and that is all you have to know about how the Thunder could win or lose a game. Now, another thing. 3-point defense, and this is a very interesting stat that I want you guys to have in your head. The Pacers are shooting 39.4% on the road, which is better than their 33.3% at home. That is a telling stat. That is something that should concern the Thunder, because if the Pacers are hitting their threes, guarding in that spacey offense, there's one answer to it for Daigneault, and it's been going small. And if they're making those threes against that small ball lineup, which is their best perimeter defensive lineups, you know, without the double big thing, the rebounds become a problem. You know, and that is one of the things that has killed the Thunder throughout the series, is not getting second chance points, not getting those defensive rebounds. You know, that has really helped the Pacers when they're facing the small ball lineup. I also want to throw out a concern for the Thunder. And by the way, I feel like I listed way more Thunder concerns than Pacers concerns, even though I'm picking the Thunder to win this game. The rotation wheel of fortune is what I had written on my notes. It feels like Daigneault hasn't had a lineup that he's been fully comfortable with. I mean, you throw Wiggins out there, you take him out right away because he doesn't look like he's going to have a good game. You do the double big lineup, it's not looking good for 2 minutes, he pulls it. You do the small ball lineup, It looks good, and then all of a sudden they're struggling to rebound. Let's take it out. And look, a game is all about adjustments in between the lines, right? A quarter here, a quarter there, maybe a 5-minute stretch here. So I understand that. But I really get the sense that Rick Carlisle has had way more comfort with his lineup selection, his rotations. I really feel like Carlisle has outcoached Mark Daigneault in general. Right? I really believe that. And the reason I say that is because, for one, it's taken 7 games to get rid of these Indiana Pacers from the OKC perspective. And 2, the Pacers have completely flipped the script in terms of defense on the Oklahoma City. Like, they have looked like consistently the better defensive team, in my opinion. And it could be because the Thunder just aren't shooting it well that I could be saying that, because the Thunder have played really damn well defensively too, but at the end of the day, you gotta get buckets, and the Pacers have pushed the Thunder offense to its just like to the wall, right? And that's been interesting to see. So I had a little note here, another concern for the Thunder: what the Hallie? Right? I mean, like, I know he's playing hurt, but if this comes down to the final seconds of a game and the ball is in the hands of Halliburton, is the crowd in complete silence in anticipation of this possession? Because I'll tell you something right now. Hallie has proved that if he's got the ball in those last seconds, he's going to make the shot, and he's going to win a championship if it comes down to that. So stay tuned for that part of it. I feel like the Thunder can't afford to have a close game with this Pacers team down the stretch. And honestly, when you're looking at the history of Game 7s, they're scrappy, they're ugly, they're low scoring for the most part, and there's a lot of ugly games from players. It is just a horrendous statistical game for the most part when you go back and look. It's crazy. It's bodies on the ground. It's crazy. It really is. I mean, the Game 7 stuff, man, every shot matters. Every rebound, every box out, every foul, every turnover, every miss, every make, everything about this game, down to the seconds of every single moment of the game, is the most important until the next one and the next one and the next one. I mean, the pressure of a Game 7 is immeasurable. And these two young teams are about to feel it. So I want to say this also, a concern of mine. The double big lineup, which is their main starting lineup in this final series, is 16.7% from 3. So that is concerning on its own. Let's get to the Indiana Pacers concerns, and it's not going to be many that I could think of off the top of my head. How much does Hallie have in the tank? Right? Like, did he just give everything he had in that Game 6 to push it to 7? And is this going to be like the ugly go away game, right? Where they get sent back home and it's just like a complete bounce back game from the Thunder like we've seen all year long? How much does Hallie have in the tank? Because the Thunder are about to throw their biggest punch, defensively speaking, in this Game 7, especially at home with the crowd behind them. It's going to be intense. Will the Pacers be able to limit turnovers on the road? The Pacers have averaged 21 turnovers on the road against the Thunder in this series, and obviously this game is on the road, so that is something that could prove to be the difference, because the Thunder are going to bank on that to try to get offense off of those turnovers. Can this great offense show up one last time, right? And if you're a Pacers fan, you're going to say yes. This team's been good on the road. This team has done incredible things, and they have that balanced attack. And, they've got that belief in them. So, that's a concern for me as well. Either way, like that I listed here, like, is the offense going to show up one last time with all the marbles on the line? Miles Turner is a concern for me here. 5 for 25 from 3 in this series. He's 20% from 3. He's also 36.8% from the field. So doing his own Chet Holmgren impression in a way on the offensive side of things. He's been doing a lot of good things defensively, and, he has hit important shots as well. But yes, I'm also looking at him, right? Like, if he's a no-show, offensively speaking, then things are going to look good for the Thunder in general. SGA and Jalen Williams are a massive concern for the Pacers, because as of right now, Jalen Williams, obviously with the exception of like the last game, Jalen Williams has found something against these Pacers. right? He has found his comfort zone, in my opinion, and I think that that could prove to be the chink in the Pacers' armor. You know, and then obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, the best player in the series. Can you stop him one last time? Or can you limit him? They've played incredible defense on him. Shout out to Andrew Nembhard. Shout out to everybody that's picked him up. Pascal Siakam has done some really good stuff defensively against him. Nesmith has done some good things, even though most of the time, obviously, he hasn't been on Shai. But yeah, you know, those two guys, I think that's just the main concern for this team. And then can you survive a good three-point night from the Thunder, right? I think the Thunder shot well one time, like specifically. I could be wrong about that. And then I think the Pacers actually won that game. That might have been game 2. At this point, all those games are a blur. But can they survive an OKC good three-point shooting night at Oklahoma? Because let me tell you something, man. You guys know how this goes at home. Any three that falls from any player, the crowd goes crazy. And if the crowd is in it, the players feed off of it, and it's a snowball effect, right? So, you know, that I think is going to be also something that, like, if the early threes don't fall for the Thunder, they could be in their heads and say, man, we're still not shooting it well. And then all of a sudden, we're in this close game, and it's an ugly one down the stretch. So definitely stay in tune with that. Now, I went over the concerns. I went over the player stuff. I went over the coaching things and the ripple effects of winning a Game 7. I already mentioned that I'm picking the Thunder. I think the Thunder play incredibly well when there is just everything on the line and they have to respond. I fully believe in this team. I have believed in them all year long, and that's not going to stop. I fully believe in the Thunder's ability to get the job done. I am very concerned about the things I talked about. I'm also optimistic about some of the things that I'm thinking in my head when it comes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in a game that's important. He has shown up for the most part of this season, right? So, like, you gotta give him credit. You gotta give him the benefit of the doubt. He has earned that, right? And even though you earn it, you gotta go out and show it again. And look, how are these two teams going to play? I mean, this is a completely unpredictable situation because it's just unforeseen. I mean, these circumstances are so crazy, right? I mean, these two teams are very young, you know? No team has won a championship in the history of their franchise. So there's that added pressure that adds unique circumstances to this entire thing. You know, so I can't wait to watch this game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I will catch you guys on the next one.